It's okay. Scooter, if you can hear me, just go on with your conversation as you were going on and tell everybody I was sorry I had to leave, but I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. And you guys just talk about that because that was interesting and I already knew about it. So, yeah, listen to your conversation and you can come back and watch this in a little bit. So yeah, I'm sorry that I had to leave so abruptly, but I didn't want to interrupt Sandy. Okay. So listen, today we got a lot to talk about. We've got these YouTubers that were killed over an online feud and copyright strikes. We have Gypsy Rose, who's now taking a stand. She's talking about cyberbullying. So she started this mom channel, but now she's, going to be a advocate, I guess, for against cyberbullying, which sounds like a great thing, except she was kind of a cyberbully, right, to Nick, and she says that hey, kids' brains aren't fully developed, and well, they think things that are online are real, and they can be misled, and all this stuff. Really, like Nick was misled? That's what I want to say. When he was misled by you and all that cosplay stuff and all those videos you were making with the wigs and telling him all this stuff about your mother. Gypsy, do you really think this is the best look? Cyberbullying is real. Cyberbullying is real and it needs people to take a stand against it. But honey, I do not think you are the person to step on that soapbox. Okay, I think you should just politely get off the soapbox, pull the sign from the back of the door, and move it along because you are really making this crazy. And of course, she is saying that she is being attacked, Ken is being attacked, her family is being attacked, all of this stuff. Gypsy, for reals. Girl, you got out for killing your mother and you decided to be an influencer and now a mommy vlogger. Come on, girl. Now you're going to be an advocate against cyberbullying? I don't think Nick or Nick's family, which I know his mother's passed and I don't know how much family he has left, but I don't think they're going to think that you're the person that should be getting on that soapbox. So why don't you get on down from the soapbox and cool it? I think she really needs to. I think we need to take a poll to see if you think that Gypsy Rose is the person to be advocating for and against cyberbullying. Okay. All right. There you go. You can go and fill that in if you think she should be or not be a anti-cyberbullying advocate against cyberbullying. Okay. Some people say she should be. 25% are saying that she should be one. Really? Oh boy. Her stands are in here. Gypsy stands. Gypsy. Now let me see here. Well, I was going to go to Gypsy. Where are you? Oh, Gypsy. Okay, let me go back. Here, because I wanted to just go over some of her talking points and some of the reactions on her videos. Let me just go over here. Okay. Gypsy Rose and Ken. Magic in the chaos. There's magic in the chaos. Welcome to our family vlog. This is Ken and Gypsy. We're navigating the ups and downs of parenthood, love, and everyday life, all while living under the spotlight. With a TV show based on my life and constant media attention, I love how she says that, with a TV show based on my life. With a TV show based on the murder of my mother and my role in that, and me getting out on parole, and constant media attention, we're here to share the real, unfiltered moments that make us who we are. From tender family milestones to tough conversations, our goal is to show what it's like to be a normal family in a very unusual situation. I don't think you're a normal family, honey, because, no. Thanks for joining us on this journey. This is Gypsy and Ken, Magic in the Chaos. And they have 30.5K subscribers. And her videos, okay, the 2 days ago, new parents question and answer. We're raising baby Aurora. What is our parenting style with Ken and Gypsy? And then it was National Donut Day. Yeah, National Donut Day, 4 days ago. And then the cyberbullying is not just online drama, Gypsy says. She says it's real and it's damaging. Yes, it's real and it's damaging, she says. And then they went on a safari adventure. And then, of course, she did her bleach job. Right? Okay. Now, I want to get to what she covers in this video. And you can see her. She sits against a white door. And she's got a lot of makeup on. I'm going to tell you. She says she has to deal with, as number one, a felon, number two, on parole, currently on parole, but she's getting off of parole in about 2 weeks and 6 days. Not that she's counting it all, right? No. But the duration of her parole, the amount of bullying and harassment that she's had to go through is insane, she says. Everything from people reporting me to my parole officer, and these are false reports, and which I kind of will make a separate video. So now she's going to keep going on explaining the conditions of parole and how all these people were like, she violated her parole and it wasn't true, which kind of leads into gossip and the amount of danger and damage that gossip can do to someone's reputation. So we have a lot to talk about, and she'd love to be able to open up the comment sections, but as a mother, I'm not able, to mother a 5-month-old, I'm not able to go in and pick apart each comment and approve and delete, and that's just the way. It's too much. I don't have that much time. So I think right now I want people to have these conversations with their family, with themselves, their loved ones, she says, their sisters, their brothers, because this is an issue that I feel I watch on a daily basis. Yeah, okay. Okay, Gypsy. Yeah, she's watching this on a daily basis. And she's baffled. She's totally baffled at how little could be done in the moment, or even at all, to prevent and have repercussions on the bullies. Now, what she goes and talks about here is the local laws, the state laws, the federal laws, all about this cyberbullying. And she says, if you've ever said something, you've got in an argument in the comment section and you're like, you're stupid, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, well, that's online bullying, she says. And she says she's guilty of it. Yep, I'm sure you are too. Well, you're making some big assumptions. Nobody is perfect. The point is, it's not a matter of if we are guilty of it or not. It's about, hey, we've probably done it in our life, and you know it's not okay, and that behavior needs to stop. Okay, Gypsy. And just recognizing that we are all individuals, that you don't know me and I don't know you. Well, we kind of know you, Gypsy, with your biggest part of your life, probably. You don't know if I'm having a hard day. I don't know if you're having a hard day. So with that being said, you never know someone's mindset. Now look, what's being said is fine and dandy. And that's not the issue we have. This cyberbullying and everything that's going on, yeah, that's great. It is wrong. It is horrible. YouTube's got to take a stand. There's so much that has to be done. It's damaging. Yes, no way am I arguing that. But I'm telling that you guys that the messenger is not the messenger that should be. She's not a messenger you could ever take seriously, because she killed her mother. And to kill her mother, she manipulated, bullied, she, just did stuff online to this person that, as she's saying, didn't have a firm grasp on reality, lied to him to get him to do her dirty work, kill her mother, and then she does 8 years and he's in for the rest of his life. Now, so, yeah, she should not be the messenger in this, not at all. So, now in her video description, here's what she has said. As a mother and someone constantly in the public eye, I've experienced firsthand the deep emotional toll of online harassment, threats, stalking, and relentless bullying. Too often, those responsible hide behind the screens, while local and even federal law enforcement fail to take real action. The system isn't doing enough. We must have this conversation, not just for ourselves, but for our children. Keeping them safe online is not optional. It's vital. Yeah, I'm sure Nick's parents wanted to keep him safe online. This video sheds light on the dangerous reality of cyberbullying and the urgent need for stronger protections, better resources, and accountability. Okay, Gypsy. And then she says, if someone you know is experiencing bullying or online harassment, reach out for help. Stopbullying.gov. And she puts the crisis line and all that. And then she says, let's stop minimizing online abuse and start protecting lives, especially the young and vulnerable. Let's end the silence. Well, there's a bunch of... And Gypsy Rose on Lifetime, and she tags Christy Blanchard, and she tags Stop Cyberbullying, and she puts hashtag Protect Our Kids, hashtag Online Safety, hashtag Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, hashtag Gypsy Rose, hashtag Ken Urker, hashtag Christy Blanchard, hashtag Rob Blanchard, hashtag Gypsy Rose release, and Gypsy Rose on Lifetime. And the comments are open here, so we're going to take a look at them in just a minute, but let's see what else she had to say about this, right? Many cases she's been looking into are teens and individuals who suffer from depression. Well, this is crazy, because just put Nick into this, right? Come on. So if someone is suffering from depression and you're calling them names like ugly, fat, stupid, like all the names you could think of, that you never know if your words are going to be the thing that triggers them to do the unthinkable and unalive themselves, potentially unalive themselves. You don't know that. Okay. Well, let's take that a little bit, Gypsy. Okay, so these individuals online, depressed, immature, did you take advantage of them, Gypsy? And did you get a young man to murder your mother for you? Yeah. Yeah. So the words that you could say could have a huge lasting impact on someone's life, someone's mental health. Yeah. What you did, Gypsy, what you did had a huge lasting impact on someone's life and someone's mental health. And I'm going to get a picture of Gypsy as she is saying this, because I just think it's unbelievable that she's even going to do this. Come on, Gypsy Rose. You're not supposed to be on this soapbox, okay, honey? You get off. This soapbox is not yours. All right, let me get, here, I'm just going to put another, I want to put this picture out there. Oh, shoot. Hold on a sec. It's almost like as she says these words, the sheer lunacy of them. The sheer lunacy of them. Just is overwhelming. I don't know how anybody can take this seriously and not have triggering herself of what she has done to Nick, right? Predator, that was predatory, was what it was. Searching and scouring the internet for someone to kill her mother. And that is exactly what happened there. So that face is really kind of a map for her feelings, I guess, and she can't hide it, that the huge lasting impact on someone's life, someone's mental health, and can't help but make that face, I guess, when she's thinking about what she did to someone's life and someone's mental health. Obviously, that's got to be what's going on there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Okay, so then she said, you have more power than you think. If someone's like, I don't let the comments get to me, I don't look at it, you do. You do. Everybody does. Everybody does. And it's so hard to know if these are honest opinions of the general public. Sweetheart, no. Everybody doesn't, okay? Everybody doesn't, okay? Because they know what these are. Celebrities especially don't look at them. They have other publicists and people that look at that. And so you're wrong. Again, Gypsy Rose, you're wrong when you say everybody does. Because everybody does. Opinions of the general public, or is it just the keyboard warriors? She says, you don't know if they're the opinions of the general public, or is it just the keyboard warriors that want to hate, as they say, haters? Well, that sounds like that is something you're struggling with. That sounded very personal. And she says the haters are just going to hate. And it's why she's speaking about this now, because she is starting to realize. What are you starting to realize, honey? That it might not be an issue right now, but I am the mother of a 5-month-old daughter, and that 5-month-old daughter will grow up. And when she is 16, 17, 18, 25, she's going to go on social media. Okay, and my fear that I feel like I know is going to happen, I don't want it to happen, but it's kind of inevitable. It happens to everybody that associates with me or in my life, like family, friends, significant others, whatever. They get bullied. And they are a target because they are close to me. So, with that being said, when my daughter becomes a teenager and she goes on social media, okay, and she goes on social media, now she's trying to make us think she's doing this, for the children. What about the children? She's going to face a lot of criticism. She's going to face a lot of bullying. And as much as I don't want that for her, it's inevitable. So, with that being said, I really want to start advocating now to have a safer space online for teens, preteens, children, adults, society in general. Okay, let's stop right there. Society in general. Yeah, okay, Gypsy. I'm sure, again, Nick's family would have loved to have had that in place for Nick, and that he would have never fallen victim to your predatory behavior where you preyed on him. And we all know what you did, the videos and all of that. It's all out there, okay? So, yeah, so she's just, yeah. I'm going to pretend she's this big advocate now. She says, teens are not like their brains have not matured enough to understand the difference between reality and online BS. And that leads them down a dark path, she said. Number one, there needs to be this greater, broader awareness about taking accountability for the words that come out of your mouth, or the things that you type, and the level of impact that it has on someone else's life. And secondly, there needs to be a broader conversation about local, state, and federal laws and how they kind of intermingle with each other and are able to connect better. There has been situations, and I can speak from my personal situation, how I've had online death threats. I've had people come to my house. I have had people threaten to, unalive me. I have had all of these range of threats. And what can I do? File a police report? Okay, where does that go from there? If these online threats are coming from someone of a different state, there is little that law enforcement could do. And I feel like they just don't have the understanding of where to take it from there. And you can make a police report, and then what's the follow-up? Okay, we'll just put it right down in the books. Okay, how is that going to protect me and my family? Yeah, she's very worried about her and her family, right? So it's not just me. We need to kind of look at this. Okay, you have my individual perspective that plays out on social media that everyone can kind of watch and see the level of hate and harassment, she says, that she gets as an individual. But in her situation, it goes beyond that. It also goes beyond the, average teen that's on social media. This kind of is a society problem. It's a society problem. Yeah. Recently, you've seen that the cast of the new Harry Potter series was just released. And this girl that is going to, the actress that is going to play Hermione, has been getting major online backlash, and she's a child. Like, I get that she's an actress, but for these people, well, she puts herself out there, just like they tell me, well, you put yourself out there. Right back to her. Okay, but does that make it right? I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that is sane by saying it is not okay to harass a child. It's not okay to call a child names. It's not okay. Even if that child's an actress, she should not be the target of bullying in any way, shape, or form. So I'm excited to see the next Harry Potter series. So this is just something that I think a lot of people need to look in the mirror and ask themselves on a daily basis, the content that I'm putting out online for the world to see, is that helpful? Is that safe? Well, this potentially could impact someone in a negative way. You really need to look at that weight that your words have. Oh boy. For me, I know that I'm not perfect, and I have done and said some things online that I regret. Really, you quite a few, right? So, but I'm growing from that, and I think that is, something that we should all do. We should all grow from that experience. Oh my gosh. I can't with her. But so yeah, she's on that soapbox, and that's about all that I can take of Gypsy Rose on the soapbox. So let's see what some of the commenters are saying. I'm sure she's picking and choosing. Very important topic. Thank you, says someone here. Let's see. Someone says should be mandatory to show ID for all accounts. Well, I've been saying that for absolute years. Absolute years. Okay. Then there can be repercussions, and there would be less bullying because people have to answer to it rather than being behind a nameless, faceless account. Another one said, absolutely loved this video. I liked it because it was unedited, it was real, and it was raw. No lifetime editing. It was just, you wish we could get more of the support, YouTube support you got, you Gypsy. Unfortunately, when your story is so public, is another one, people will always try to find inconsistencies, forgetting that as a survivor, it's common to forget certain memories or only recall. Wait, Gypsy is a survivor? What's a gypsy a survivor of? Let me guess. Munchausen's? No, all wrong. What is she a survivor of? She was the perpetrator. She got her mother murdered. Where was Gypsy surviving? Well, this person doesn't know too much, huh? Let's see. It's not about spinning a story or being dishonest. Oh boy. Honestly, as a fellow survivor, but she's not a survivor. She was the perpetrator. She was a conspirator. You deeply understand why someone might feel driven to such extreme measures when they feel powerless. Oh my goodness, I can't even. I support you, says someone. Another one says good video. Someone says no one deserves to be bullied. There's no justification for it. All adult women attacking you on TikTok are very pathetic. Trust me, normal people can see how ridiculous they are. They're just making themselves look stupid. Okay, someone says, first people are pissed she didn't advocate for issues when she was first released, and now that she has, especially on a sensitive and very important issue, such as cyberbullying. She's getting blasted if she admits she's done it herself. It's mind-boggling. Okay. That's all that I'm going to spend on Gypsy there. I want to see what you guys are doing here. June 10th. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Hi, Bucky Ann. Hi, Christine. How's it going? I didn't get any sleep last night. It was hard. I couldn't fall asleep. And then I tried to get like an hour. And now it's hitting me. So we're going to have to move this along a little bit. So now we're going to go on to something else. We're going to go on to Diddy. All right. This was day 20 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, right? Let's get this up here. And you're going to see a photo, a drawing of, this is Terry Garagos cross-examining Jane on Tuesday. The cross-examination of Sean Diddy's accusers, and the one that was like his most recent girlfriend and with him up until he was arrested, right? So let's go and talk about this. We'll talk about this. Okay. Teeny Garagos established with her that they've met several times. Jane, one of Diddy Combs' accusers, who is using a fake name, dated Combs from 2021 to 2024, and she acknowledged that she stopped speaking to the defense in April, just before the trial, and that she hasn't felt pressured by the defense. She also acknowledged that she feels her attorney, whose fees that Sean Combs has been covering, is representing her well, despite Sean Combs being the person that's funding her lawyer, right? She has not spoken to Sean since before his arrest in September, and she testified that, hang on, when she answered Teeny Garagos asking her if she regretted a lot of the choices she made throughout her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs, she said, "I resent him for leading me to the lifestyle he led me to." Garagos suggested that Jane chose to participate in that lifestyle. She says, "My choices were made under a lot of emotional pressure." She said she was hooked for the beginning of their relationship, but she didn't understand the terms and condition of what their relationship would be like. She testified that the way Sean Combs went about introducing her to his lifestyle was that he built it under a lot of emotional manipulation and pressure, but she also said she still loves him. Teeny Garagos took Jane through the routine after a hotel night that Jane previously described on the direct examination. A hotel night Jane previously described were sexual encounters that generally included a male entertainer. Jane said she's very naturally nurturing and loved to take care of Combs after a hotel night. She said, "Yes, he was my baby." She said she'd give him foot massages, she'd feed him and bathe him. She'd put on his favorite show, Dateline, and they'd watch it until he fell asleep. Jane testified that she endured the hotel nights to have that time together afterwards. She testified she didn't want Sean to feel judged during the hotel nights because it was a very vulnerable moment. She said, "I felt that my partner was trusting me in a very vulnerable moment, and so he made me believe that this was something really special, that this was something only he and I did. And I really took that on very strongly," she said. Jane said she believed that while they were together, she was the only woman Combs was having hotel nights with. She said she would go through messages on his phone to make sure. Jane testified that she left loved at the time. She left loved because we experienced these things together and because they were really special to him, she said. Wow. And as time went on, it was very conflicting for me internally because I'm breaking all of my boundaries just to make him feel extremely loved, she added. Teeny Garagos suggested that Jane chose to take ecstasy during those hotel nights because it made her feel uninhibited and allowed her to play into Sean Combs' fantasies for several hours. She said, "My choice was to take the ecstasy. I would say Mr. Combs would offer me the ecstasy and expect me to take it. When asked, Jane said several sexual encounters with or without entertainers usually involved role play with Sean Combs. She said during a hotel night, Combs often directed her to play into a cheating fantasy with the entertainer," she testified. She said, "Sean left town and I'm home alone with me and whoever, and I'm sneaking in this entertainer, and it's just me and this entertainer fantasy talking about Sean is on a plane, and I could not wait to get this entertainer all alone." And when asked, she confirms that Sean was getting aroused by giving directions to her and an entertainer during the hotel night. Okay. Then Garagos returned to some of the times that Jane and Sean would get into arguments and stop talking. She said we would get back because we missed each other. She confirmed that she wanted to be with Sean Combs. So you would get back together with him of your own volition? Garagos said. Yes, Jane responded. Defense attorney Garagos asked Jane to talk about the things she loved about Sean Diddy Combs. Jane said Combs beamed a very bright light when she met him, and she said she was fascinated with him. She also testified that Combs, who she said is very motivating and encouraging, helped her feel less shy and more confident. He would uplift me. She also confirmed that he supported her dress and fashion, swimwear fashion lines. He invested about $20,000 in the dress line. She said $20,000 sounds like peanuts, right? What's that going to get her? And he's got all that money, $20,000. Jane confirmed that Sean Diddy Combs sent her money throughout their relationship, and that most of the time she didn't ask for it. Most of the time, defense attorney Tina Garagos asked if the total amount that Combs wired her was more than $150,000. She said, I never really counted, but I would assume, yeah, that would be close. She said that she met Combs in 2020. She was making money from Instagram influencing, and she also received $4,700 per month in child support. And once she was with Combs, she said she couldn't devote time to influencing, and she felt like she only met 10% of her earning potential during that relationship. Then Garagos asked Jane to talk about the things she loved about Sean. And Combs beamed a very bright light when I met him. She said, I was fascinated with him. She also testified that Combs, who she said has been very motivating and encouraging, helped her to be less shy and more confident. He would uplift me. Okay, now, what else do we have? She testified she moved to her new house April 2023. She thought that if we got a home that was to Sean's taste level, then we could start at least doing hotel nights here in the privacy of our own home. And Jane confirmed that she and Combs did not want anything about the hotel nights to leak. She confirmed that it was more important the public didn't know anything about those hotel nights, and that Combs's employees didn't know anything about the encounters. Defense attorney Tina Garagos said that if they had done any hotel nights at Jane's previous apartment, and she confirmed they had. The defense attorney showed the jury text messages and audio messages between Jane and Diddy from March 2023, right after the Turks and Caicos trip, to that she previously testified during that trip that he sprung an entertainer in a hotel night. The two traded loving text messages and voice messages about how much fun they had. In Sean's voice note, he said he loved her. He also mentioned Jane's contract on the audio recording, which Jane testified was reference to the love contract they were just brokered, which led to Combs renting a $10,000 per month home for her. The jury heard an upbeat recorded message with Jane sending it to Combs, telling him that she had so much fun on the trip and that she loved him and felt closer to him. She said on the recording, everything just feels good and I'm so happy. Jane testified that she did have fun with Sean and was expressing that she loved him and loved spending time with him, excluding the time they spent with the entertainers. She testified when she moved into the house in 2023 that she thought, if we got a home, then we could just do our hotel nights there. Yeah, so she thought so, right? Describing a time when Jane was still getting to know Sean Diddy, she testified she was with him in Miami before he bought her a pair of shoes. and a Bottega Veneta bag and a bracelet. During the trip, he explained to her that he led a polyamorous dating lifestyle. Jane said she didn't mind at first because they were just getting to know each other, but it became difficult once she had a deeper feelings for Sean. I was feeling my man and I wanted him to be mine, she said. She also said that she felt there was an imbalance in the treatment she got from Combs in comparison to how he treated his other girlfriends. Jane said it became difficult to her when Sean Diddy Combs started spending time with young Miami about 16 months to a year after they began dating. Sean Combs and young Miami had a very public relationship that appeared to be monogamous, and they would post on each other's social media, but Jane said her relationship with Combs was very private. It was definitely not something that I signed up for. I didn't want to sign up to date a man that was in a public relationship. On the first trip to Turks and Caicos, Jane suggested that Sean go to the rehabilitation center in Thailand when she realized how the drugs were taking an effect on him, she said. On the flight to Turks and Caicos, she noticed his shaky hands, his eyes, teeth, and coloring seemed off. I could tell he wasn't taking very good care of himself, she said. Defense attorney Tina Garagos suggested that Jane knew he was a drug addict from early on. In the beginning, I didn't really know how to label it, she said. I encountered someone and that was overdosing the partying. Jane added, as our relationship continued, I noticed a very strong pattern, and I still don't really want to label him as a drug addict. I just think I would say that he was a really big party guy. Toward the end of the relationship, Jane learned Combs was taking antidepressants. She said she confirmed that she wanted him to get off drugs and get back to his natural form. She testified that Combs had once told her he was interested in getting ketamine therapy. Sean's mother, sister, and 2 sons are in the courtroom. Mark Garagos is also seated. And Sean smiled when Jane testified that she liked to give him foot massages and began nodding when she said he was my baby. Okay, Tina Garagos suggested that Jane tell prosecutors that she enjoyed just about every minute with Combs during hotel nights. During hotel nights, the portion of me and him, yes, I love that part, Jane said. She testified that they would have some alone time for about 30 minutes to an hour before the entertainer came and after they left, and then she enjoyed what the two of them would make love. Jane confirmed that Combs gave her attention and affection and she wanted during the hotel nights. She confirmed that she was okay with the hotel nights being filmed and that Sean Diddy Combs told her the videos were just for the two of them. You put on a good show for him in these videos because you knew he would watch them back, said Teeny. Yes, Jane responded. Garagos suggested that Jane liked watching the videos back with Sean, but Jane said she just accepted that. I did not like that part, but it was just a part of the relationship. Garagos revisited 2 occasions in which Jane testified that she cried after a hotel night. When asked about that on one occasion at the beginning of the relationship with Sean Diddy Combs, Jane cried when Combs was going to leave her soon after a hotel night. When asked, Jane confirmed that when she asked Combs to stay with her to comfort her, he rearranged his plan so he could. On another occasion, towards the middle of the relationship, Jane recalled she cried in the shower with Sean after a hotel night. Garagos asked Jane to confirm that Sean Combs was high on ecstasy at the time. Jane confirmed that he was too high to see her cry and said, "You're going to ruin my high." Jane confirmed that there were a few occasions when Sean would come, ended a hotel night early when she vocalized that she wanted to stop. She testified that there was a few rare occasions when Combs himself agreed to dismiss an entertainer when she wasn't attracted to or comfortable with them, but only after she tried to have sexual interactions with the men for a period of time. Tina Geragos suggested that Combs readily agreed to dismiss the men when she wasn't comfortable, but she pushed back on that. She had to endure sexual interactions with the men first. Okay, and let's see. There were messages between Jane and Christina Coram, who was Diddy's chief of staff, about the times that Combs asked Jane to bring drugs to Miami for him. Jane previously testified that she spoke with Coram on the phone, and Coram told her it was fine and instructed Jane to put the drugs in the checked luggage. The messages read out loud did not include Coram saying that, but Jane maintained that she spoke on the phone with Coram about that. Geragos asked if Coram would fly on Sean's private plane when she traveled with him, and she said she assumed so, but she wasn't sure. She testified that she and Coram were not close, and that she said that Coram did not like her. Jane said that the dynamic with Coram was hard on their relationship with Combs because the employee was always with Combs. I believe that she had very strong opinions about me, which influenced a great deal of how Sean also treated me, Jane said. Jane, one of Sean Diddy Combs' accusers, testifying under the fake name. Let's go back. Let's see. Hold on, I gotta get a drink. Oh my gosh, I gotta stretch my neck. Okay. So let's get through this now. Jane texted Combs that she wanted to see him, and Combs responded that he had a rough night and wanted her to lead tonight. Jane responded that she should freshen up and have a drink and see where the night takes them, but Combs said he didn't feel like being around people. On the stand, Jane confirmed that they had a hotel night after those messages. The next day, Jane texted the adult performer Sly, asking for explicit videos according to the messages read in court. Jane testified that she was with Combs at the time that he was asked her to reach out to Sly for those videos. A few days after that, Jane texted Sly about coming to visit and said, "I'll organize." Jane testified that she was with Combs at the time and that they were trying to figure out where they would see Sly. Okay, Geragos showed the jury more texts. These were from November 2021 between Diddy and Jane, where they were planning to see each other. In the messages, Sean told Jane to be explicit, prompting her to send explicit messages about acts with Sean and the entertainer. Geragos and Jane read some of the messages aloud in the courtroom, and Jane testified that she spoke in graphic sexual language, knowing that's what Combs wanted. After exchanging a series of fantasy messages about the entertainers, Combs asked Jane what she wanted to do, and she wrote that she wanted to spend time with her favorite person, meaning Combs, and then he asked Jane if she wanted him to stop by with an entertainer, and she testified that yes to this sexual entertainer with the encounter with the entertainer at her home because it was the only way she would see Combs. Okay, the jury heard the voice messages. Combs said she could set something up, and that was the last vision we had. Jane went back to the voice messages saying she thought he wanted to save that situation as a grand finale once he finished the album. She testified that she was trying to make excuses to get out of this thing that he's encouraging for her to set up. Jane testified that after all those audio messages she saw on social media that Combs was spending time with another woman that led into a text conversation prosecutors brought up on direct testimony previously. Okay. In what became a tense exchange with the defense attorney, Teeny Garagos, Jane said she didn't garner much from their relationship. It bothered her that other women got nice gifts and excursions from Combs. She said she didn't get the same treatment even though she gave in to sex with strangers. Okay, Garagos reminded Jane at this point that Sean gifted her a Van Cleef necklace and a Bottega Veneta bag. Jane confirmed he did, and then quipped at Garagos, "I'm sure you have one." Garagos said she didn't. Garagos then asked, "How much do Bottega bags run?" And Jane shot back, "How much does my body cost?" The judge cautioned Jane to answer the question asked. When Garagos asked again how much a Bottega Veneta bag cost, Jane said they range from $1,500 to $5,000. When asked, Jane said she didn't know how much a Chanel bag costs. Okay. Jane testified that the home she now lives in is about 5,300 square feet, which is significantly bigger than the 1,400 square foot apartment that she used to live in. She said she's profited a little bit off of a business that Sean Diddy Combs invested in $20,000 into. She confirmed that Combs never asked for a portion of the proceeds, and the defense attorney pointed out to Jane's businesses and asked about the previous testimony that she wasn't able to do anything during the years she was in relationship with Conti. She said she has no she dove headstrong into this relationship. She probably would have been a bit more successful in that time frame, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, now let's see. Let me just make sure you guys are all okay. Hi, video. What's up? What's going on? Let me see who's come in here while I've been in here. Let's see. Hold on, I've got this. Okay. So let me just close out this poll. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Where was I? Hi 61. How are you? Hi Denise. Bucky Ann. You have to go to the plane in 45. You've got to roll. Hope and pray you're all well. You will be safe. Hi Victoria. How are you? You're having a hard time staying awake tonight. You usually are able to sit up and listen. I guess not tonight. I hope everyone has a sweet night. Good night. Good night, Denise. Good night. Rest well, Denise. As if making love is a sheer engagement. Let's see what you said. You said, everybody hit the likes. Yeah, mosquito bite on my leg and it's itching me. Okay, let's see. Victoria, hi Sassy. Okay. Stop scratching my mosquito bite. Oh, good. Okay, let me see now. Back. They call him back. Okay. So Jane and the defense attorney Geragos reviewed more sexually explicit text messages from 2021 in which Jane appeared to engage positively with Sean about hotel nights and watching footage together from past hotel nights. Jane said she would offer to watch the footage from the encounters because Sean liked to recap after a hotel night. In other messages the jury saw, Combs told Jane that they could be alone without an entertainer and she didn't have to do Molly. Jane responded that she would believe when she saw it. She also wrote at the time that she knows Sean likes hotel nights and said she didn't mind them. Jane testified that she was positively reinforcing Sean about the hotel nights, so Sean felt comfortable and did not feel rejected. Okay, and then the jury was dismissed for the day. The lawyers wrapped up as well. The trial will continue tomorrow, 1 p.m. Okay, so we've done Diddy. Now let's look at Lori Vallow. Day 3. Day 4. Recap. Sorry. Ow. Day 4. Yep. Okay. Get back to the start. There was a smaller crowd outside the courtroom. Trial was set to resume at 10:15 a.m. Lori got into the courtroom. She was wearing a blue pantsuit. Jury was seated. Lori continues cross-examination of the Gilbert police detective Ryan Pilar, the case agent at the investigation. Lori asked about whether Detective Pilar ever talked about her niece, Melanie. He says he interviewed her on October 3rd, 2019 for about an hour. He confirms that she would follow up with him regarding a custodial issue. Lori asks again about the Jeep color and the VIN number. Pilar testifies that he learned that the Jeep was gray after consulting with the Chandler Police Department, who had photos of the Jeep from their July investigation. Lori asks how the detective Pilar talked with Brandon Boudreaux over the past 5.5 years. The state objected. The judge allows him to answer the question, and he testifies that he primarily communicated over the phone, sometimes emails. Then Lori starts to ask about emails, trying to reference a document she brought up on cross-examination with Brandon Boudreaux. The state objects and the sides go to a sidebar with the judge. Lori shifts to asking about screenshots that might have been sent from Brandon to Detective Pilar. She asks whether Melanie gave a theory of what she thinks happened on the screenshots. The state objects and Lori argues that she just wants to know what he knows. Okay. One of Lori's advisory counselors brings up a paper for Detective Pillar to review. He says it looks like a Word document, can't specifically testify as to whether it was an attachment sent by Brandon. The timestamp in question, February 2020. Detective Pillar scans the document, says it appears to be consistent with parts of the investigation, but he could not testify to the specific document. Lori asks if he looked at all the possibilities of what happened that day. She asks if he disregarded the information in the investigation. The state objects and the sides went into a sidebar. Lori shifts to talk about the Tesla. Detective Pillar testifies that he drove it to be processed. He believes it was returned to Brandon Boudreaux the following day. Lori asks if he looked at all the possibilities of what happened that day, and she said if he disregarded that information in the investigation, the state objects and the sides go to the sidebar. Lori asks about the. Sure, we got that one. Lori asked Pillar on why he didn't keep the Tesla impounded. She asked how her expert is supposed to perform tests on the Tesla and how the team would be able to test the trajectory. Lori goes back to the Jeep color again. She asks him about something written in his affidavit about the Jeep color, stating that the Jeep he saw was a gray Jeep. He testifies that he has already confirmed at the time they were looking for a gray Jeep in the investigation. Lori tries to have Detective Pillar look at another page at his affidavit. The state calls for another sidebar. Lori's adult son, Colby Ryan, appears to have just entered the courtroom. He sat on parts of her last trial, too. Lori asks about whether it was ever tested for DNA. Tested for DNA. What was that? Pillar says it wasn't. Lori asks why it was collected then. He says a neighbor thought they should take it. Pillar says he didn't think it was involved in this investigation. Lori continues talking about the evidence taken in the investigation. Pillar says they collected a cigarette butt. He says a neighbor thought it stood out because he didn't smoke. Lori tries to ask questions about Melanie, seeking help from Detective Pillar. He says it was a custody issue and he referred her to an attorney. The state objects to the other questions for relevance. The judge sustains. Lori said she's not done with the questioning. Both sides go into another sidebar. Okay, Detective Pillar confirms he was investigating other cases in February of 2020. He confirms he was investigating other cases involving Melanie Boudreaux and Melanie Pawlowski, Lori's niece, Brandon's ex-wife. At this time, both Lori and Alex were living in Rexburg, Idaho. Detective Pillar testifies they had relied on each other heavily and law enforcement to help at their organization. Next question revolved around the contact with Melanie. Pillar testified the communication was recorded on the day of the shooting. Brandon left a voicemail for her to return his call, and Pillar said he later called and left that voicemail saying he's a detective and asking her to call back about the case. Pillar says it's not uncommon for witnesses to confuse colors. The judge read three questions to the jury. The first asks how common it is for witnesses to confuse colors. This state's next witness is Vanessa Mielke, a forensic scientist in Mesa Police. She is testifying to the DNA. Okay, so we're going to skip on some of this. Vanessa says the DNA collected from the gear shift did not have a major contributor. She said Alex Cox's profile could not be eliminated from the mixture. Hermosillo, testified that he found the Jeep in Idaho. After a few days, it was towed to an impound lot. He said that he attempted to contact Lori multiple times about the Jeep with no luck. State's next witness was Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo from the Rexburg, Idaho investigation. In this case, he's testifying to working with Gilbert police to find the Jeep Wrangler in Idaho in 2019. He was a detective. On redirect, the prosecutor clarifies that you have all three particles: lead, antimony, and barium. If a gun was fired, not fireworks, not hairspray, Mueller confirms. The state goes to call the next witness. Lori asked a series of questions about GSR, whether lead, antimony, or barium could be from the fireworks or the brake dust. Mueller says he's not for fireworks, but it's impossible for a dust storm. But he asked about the fertility and hairspray. He said he's not familiar. Fertilizer, fertility, fertilizer. Oh my gosh, I'm just falling asleep. Okay, prosecutors showing photos and playing video from a storage unit in Idaho. This is the one I was talking about, where Lori rented a unit. Hermosillo testifies to seeing Lori Vallow Daybell put up in a blue Nissan Rogue, pull up in a Nissan Rogue and get out of the building. All angles as we see outside. Lieutenant Hermosillo testifies to what they found inside the garage of the townhouse rented by Alex. They said they found Alex's passport and other documents like his tax papers and mail. They said they also found a lot of ammunition. Prosecutor is showing the jury all of these different photographs. Hermosillo testifies to executing the search warrants. Prosecutor is showing an aerial shot of the townhouse complex in Idaho where Lori and Alex were living. Hermosillo also testifies that they learned Melanie Boudreau was also living there. Isn't that special? Okay. And then let's see. Hermosillo testified about getting map information. He testified that Alex Cox's Gmail account searched for Brandon Boudreau's address on October 1st of 2019 in the evening, and he asked for directions to that address. The same time it happened again on October 2nd in the morning of the shooting. Lieutenant was accessing the records from Google. He testified that there are no searches on the account on how to get out of the back seat. Okay. All right, that's gonna be the end of Lori, and then let me do about that father. We may have to do Karen Reed, roll that into tomorrow night, depending on I don't know, right? Got to talk about the YouTubers and that father still. So they're zeroing in on an area. Missed drop-off. Let's see. The feds take over the manhunt for the Washington father. Authorities are tracking a lone hiker. They think he might be the Washington father. They're tracking a lone hiker, they say. Authorities on Tuesday night. Let me get a different graphic. I'm so sorry for the yawning. I'm sorry. Okay. On Tuesday night, the authorities said they're tracking a lone hiker that they believe could be Travis Caleb Decker near a mountain pass in the Wenatchee Mountains of Washington State. Decker has been charged with murder and kidnapping after his 3 daughters were found dead last week. Investigators have been looking for him since the night of May 30th, when he failed to return the girls to their mother's home in Wenatchee, about 100 miles southeast of Seattle, after a scheduled visit. In a statement on Tuesday, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said that law enforcement officials have tracked someone they believe to be Decker. Our office recently received a tip from a hiking party who stated they spotted a lone hiker in the Enchantments area who appeared to be avoiding others. Okay. Sheriff's Office wrote on social media asking the public to be in the area, who are in the area, be vigilant. Tracking teams in a helicopter later spotted a solo hiker near Kolchak Lake who ran from sight as soon as the helicopter passed over. Okay, so let's please go on to Karen Reed, right? What happened to this? I don't know. Let's just. Hold on. Last two defense witnesses testify. All right, so. Okay, so here's a La Posada's testimony turns to O'Keefe's arm and injuries from animals. A photo of the injuries of O'Keefe's arm is now being shown to the court with La Posada on the stand. She says you have to look at the whole picture to know what happened to someone's body prior to death. Allard Jackson put his poster-sized photographs back out and is asking La Posada about the x-rays that were done on John O'Keefe, and La Posada is being asked about an x-ray of O'Keefe's right hand and says there was no defect. She said there was no defects to the bones in the right arm either. The bones were 100% intact, La Posada said. The objection by the prosecution is sustained. Jackson said he's done, and Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan is up. Now, hang on a minute. Okay. Brennan tells La Posada good afternoon. She tells him that there are 6 minutes until the afternoon. After that, he asks La Posada about her report in which she determined what she determined regarding O'Keefe's injuries, and she said the movement was upward and down. They go back forth over a thrust and what that means. And then Brennan about the modern medicine and the use of MRIs and CAT scans. He asked La Posada if she has any neurological expertise. She said she's a forensic pathologist, not a neurosurgeon. Okay. Brennan is asking La Posada about her opinion that O'Keefe died within 15 to 20 minutes of his head injury. He wants to know what objective criteria she has to support that opinion. Brennan tries to establish that La Posada does not have the same credentials as neurosurgeons and would not know the same things that they know about the brain. Brennan asked La Posada about her opinion that O'Keefe died within 15 to 20 minutes of his head injury. He wants to know what objective criteria she has to support that opinion. La Posada and Brennan are continuing to disagree currently about how quickly bruising starts in the eyes after a skull fracture. Brennan is asking about the wounds to the back of O'Keefe's head now and wants to know if that was a classic wound caused by falling backwards What do you mean by classic? Every wound is different, La Posada replies. Brennan asks if frozen ground can cause a skull fracture, and La Posada says it can. Brennan wants to know if she saw the ground outside 34 Fairview Road. Were there any impediments, rocks, or bumps in the grass? And she said she's relying on photographs, but she didn't see anything other than the flat surface. Brennan asked La Posada if she agrees that her brain is very soft, consistent with the texture like tofu. La Posada says she has quite a reaction to this and says, "Oh, gross." It is soft, she says. Is it that soft, Brennan asks. Well, it depends on the kind of tofu you have, she says. Brennan asks about orbital bone fractures. Sue O'Connell notes jurors seem bored based off of their body language. La Posada says her opinions are based off of 40 years of experience. Brennan asked her now about the depressed fractures, saying there were none on this case. They're moving to the wounds on O'Keefe's arms, bringing back up the photo to the courtroom. O'Keefe's injuries to his right arm. Brennan is asking about superficial abrasions. He wants to know how many punctures she identified in the photograph. Brennan is asking her about the opinion that O'Keefe's injuries weren't caused by broken pieces of glass or plastic. She says they weren't. Brennan wants to know about DNA on the vehicle, including hair on the vehicle. La Posada said she didn't look for any DNA and does not know. Brennan is asking about O'Keefe's shoes, his hat, the back of his pants. Did they look at any information that would tell you the speed of the impact that may have or allegedly was, Brennan said. Brennan tells the judge he wants to introduce an audit that would show the negligence on the part of La Posada's office. Something, he says, shows a different picture of what the defense has pasted of her success in court. He also significantly mentions the station nightclub fire in Rhode Island, saying she wasn't on scene. Brennan is trying to call into question La Posada's credibility and what led to her reasoning from her post. Jackson says La Posada absolutely did not leave 1,500 bodies unattended, as Brennan claimed. It was a backlog on reports that had very public political fight over it. Jackson also points out the audit that was mentioned was 25 years ago. I don't think attacking this witness's credibility is in good faith, noting Brennan has previously used La Posada for his cases. Okay, hold on a moment now. The judge was continuing to hear the motions while the jurors were at lunch. Court returns with Cannoni making a ruling. With everyone but the jury back in the court following the lunch, the judge offered some rulings on the arguments that had been made before lunch. She's allowed some of Brennan's requests, but not all of them. She's also noted that a page entered into evidence that had been cited was blank. The jury returned and Brennan resumed the questioning with La Posada. Okay, Brennan presses La Posada on past criticism hypothermia. Brennan says that had the doctor confirmed that she hasn't recently taken a course on brain injuries, though she has taught it. He brought up criticism about La Posada's handling of a nightclub fire, to which she replied there was a flurry of negative press without any basis. Well, okay. Asked about a cut on O'Keefe's eyes, which she said could have been caused by a punch. She ruled out the possibility because she says it was caused by the ground, but agreed it could have been an object. Pair went back and forth over hypothermia, with Brennan seeking to get La Posada to acknowledge that it's possible someone, not necessarily O'Keefe, could be alive but have a lower body temperature and being out in the cold. Brennan returned to the topic of the damage to O'Keefe's injuries, and La Posada said he has no injuries on him that are consistent with being hit by the back of an SUV. That includes the spoiler, that includes the back of the bumper. Brennan asked about the video taken by the crash expert showing the dummy who was being hit by an SUV. which she hasn't seen. The prosecutors played the video in court, but when Brennan was asked about what she saw in the video, the defense registered an objection. After a sidebar, Cannoni struck out in line. The line of questioning, including the showing of the video. Okay. Brennan had no more questions for La Posada. Jackson returned for redirect questioning after a few sidebar conversations. He had the doctor review x-rays of O'Keefe's arm, which were entered into evidence, and then La Posada was excused. The defense called a new ARCCA witness, Andrew Rentschler. And Rentschler is believed to be the last defense witness. Yay, yay. Hold on, I gotta open the door. I am burning up. I don't know what's going on. With that walk with my cousin, we went on this like 5-mile walk. I sweated like crazy. It was so humid, but we had a good walk. Now all of a sudden I cooled down. I have some seltzer now, like I'm burning up. At least I'm not falling asleep again like I was. But okay, let me open the door. I had to open the door. Now let's see. The questions for that Rentschler turned to the Karen Reed case, of course, saying he was initially retained for the first trial, saying he was not hired by the defense, the prosecution, or an insurance company. The judge has prevented questions about the now closed federal investigation. Rentschler said his colleague will focus on damage involving the vehicle while he was in charge of assessing the injuries to O'Keefe. He discussed the injuries to O'Keefe's head and arm and how he reviewed them. Rentschler also noted that he first studied this case without any knowledge of the defense. He'd been instructed not to. After this, about his findings, he said he found out the forces involved meant O'Keefe could not have been hit in the forehead with the taillight without other injuries being caused. The jurors were excused as Cannoni says the trial is now back on track, so that was the end. Rentschler was excused and will return Wednesday for more questioning. Jackson told Cannoni he didn't expect to take all day questioning the expert. And then court ended for the day, so that's done. Now, let's see if we checked all the boxes. Let's see. We checked all the boxes. Gypsy Rose, check. YouTubers killed over online feud. Copyright strikes, nope, we gotta do that one. Manhunt for father, killed daughters continues, yep, and we did the trials. Okay, so let's do that YouTubers, because he was supposed to go to court. Okay. Manuel Ruiz appeared in court after the arrest. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so they were YouTubers, they were filming. The wife was killed, the husband was killed. The killer said himself that he went to all the casinos looking for them before he killed them. And he did that on a video. Sounds premeditated. Yes, they are still go out and live stream themselves, so he knew where they would be. So he was in court. Let's see what happened here. Let's see what happened on his court date, okay? Okay, let me try this now. Okay, here we go. Let me get a picture of him up. So stupid, right? So stupid. How smart are you? Like, not at all, guy. There he is. He made his first initial appearance in Las Vegas court Tuesday morning, where a judge ordered no bail. He's facing 2 counts of murder. 3 YouTube streamers were in attendance at Ruiz's hearing on Tuesday. It was childish. It was crazy. It didn't make any sense, said Marquis Wiley, a YouTuber who goes by the name Wiley Show. It was all about who was the biggest Las Vegas YouTube content creator. Wiley had been following the dispute of the YouTubers for months, including, hang on a second, the violence that occurred on Sunday night. They were in competition, and when you watch YouTube, you see different creators competing for views. And that's what I thought it was about. I didn't think it was going to end in violence. The arrest report said Ruiz left the shooting ditching his shirt and hat and gun before taking a ride share, only to go as far as New York, because he didn't have enough money to pay. He then walked to a friend's house where he told them they told him to turn himself in. After being taken into custody, Ruiz said he was approached by Finley's wife, who was dancing in his face. He said he saw Finley reach for his waistband and ask, "What's up, cuz?" aggressively, and believed that he was reaching for a firearm, so he shot in self-defense. Yeah. He told police he fired towards Finley's torso, but when Finley continued to move, he aimed higher, and he admitted to shooting Finley's wife when he saw a shiny black object. He believed that it was a gun, according to the report. Marquise Wiley, the YouTuber, said it was childish, it was crazy, it didn't make any sense. Wiley has been following the dispute since the two YouTubers for months, including the violence that occurred on Sunday night. All right, that's all I'm going to be able to do for you tonight. Let's see. Got ran over, pleads the 5th judge, handle all that. Knock, knock on heaven's door. The judge will decline. Language, it's an oath. What? I can't. I'm so tired. I want to go to sleep. We got to do this daily and get to bed. Okay. What did happen? What did I just do? I don't even know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. Daily, daily, daily. on daily. Okay. Thank you for pushing the membership video. Thank you. Hold on, I've got to get something to drink here. Wait, this guy threw his life away? Yes. Yes, that's exactly what he did, Super Chat Cat. He threw his life away and killed 2 YouTubers. He destroyed their family, husband and a wife. He killed them both. Isn't that great? Not. Okay. You mess with video reel. Thanks for having my back there, video. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see here. Murder of Crows, I need you. I need you like the flower needs the rain. Come on. I'm so tired. Where is... Oh, where's Super Chat? Not Super Chat. I might have to just leave this till tomorrow and do it when I get up. I'm sorry that I won't be able to show it to you, but I cannot keep my eyes open, and it's 1:48, but I did not sleep probably more than an hour. I don't even think I got an hour, and I've got a lot to do tomorrow. And I took a really long walk with my cousin and all of that stuff, so I think I'm just going to go, guys. Murder of Crows, I just can't. I'm so tired, but thank you so much for coming. I love you guys. God bless. Prayers. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good. Be very good. Kind.